Anyone with a basic understanding of what Pokemon is should understand what types are. There are some like ground, fire, steel, etc. that are praised constantly, but one type that gets a lot of flack is ice. It takes hits about as well as glass, with it having 4 common weaknesses and only resisting itself. Another flaw of this type is the Hail weather condition. It's essentially Sandstorm, but it only benefits ice types. Combine that with a lot of ice Pokemon being less than stellar, and you have a weather condition that's hard to work with. But does that mean it's completely worthless? I thought I'd look at how viable Hail teams really are, and it's the perfect time to make this as well since it's winter. This won't be easy, will it? Just to give everyone a point of reference for how useful Ice really is in competitive, the only Pokemon of this typing in the OU tier, Higher, and Smogon are both Kyurem forms and Ice Blade Arceus. Keep in mind that they're alternate forms of legendaries. Oh, and in VGC, you'd be hard-pressed to find many people use Ice types at all. Of course, we still have options, but we're stuck without a lot of best of the best Pokemon. Regardless, I'll prove to you that building a team around Hailstorm won't put you on thin ice. We'll be starting with Alolan Ninetales. While Vanilla Ninetales is decent, its Alolan form is dang good. In fact, it's arguably the best one here. Fairy types usually make for great special walls due to their resistances to strong types and an immunity to Dragon. While Ninetales is weak to Fire, Poison, Rock, and Quad weak to Steel, it's a very fast Pokemon and 3 of those types don't typically have the best speed. Its regular ability, Snow Cloak, is nothing but cheap as it raises evasion by 2 stages. Seeing how evasion modifiers are typically banned in online play is just a nuisance. Snow Warning on the other hand is actually useful as it instantly creates a Hailstorm for 5 turns. That way you don't have to waste a turn setting one up. And when it comes to the move pool, Alolan Ninetales really shines. It's one of the few Pokemon for Aurora Veil, which is basically reflected in Light Screen at the same time. Since it only works when a Hailstorm is active and Ninetales has Snow Warning, it's the perfect Pokemon for this. There are some other moves you could teach it, like Freeze Dry, which is super effective against water, Moonblast for stab, Hail just in case, and Hypnosis, because why not? Overall, Alolan Ninetales is a great Pokemon to begin battles with. Next, we've got Mamoswine, your convenient tank. Its attack and HP stats are some of the highest of any ice types. Defense and speed aren't too bad either. Combine that with Ground, one of the most common types used competitively, and you've got a Pokemon that screams reliable. Well, it actually screams this. But you know what I mean. Unfortunately, when you look at its matchups, it doesn't seem too pretty. Normally, it'll be weak against Fire, Water, Grass, Fighting, and Steel. It only resists Poison and it's immune to Electric. On the bright side, its hidden ability makes up for that. You already know about Snow Cloak, and Oblivious is extremely situational, but Big Fat has the damage of Fire and Ice type attacks. It not only loses a weakness, but gains a resistance. And of course, no powerhouse would be complete without powerful moves. Earthquake is a given for this Pokemon. I mean, how could you go wrong with Earthquake? You just can't. Unless it's Marowak, but that's besides the point. Got Icicle Crash? Well, you better hope you do, because it's the best Ice type attack it's got. But if you need priority, then Ice Shard is your friend. As for what else, there isn't much. It can learn Curse, which might work on it. Stuntage is good for coverage, but it's inaccurate. And Stealth Rock is helpful if you don't have anyone else who can learn entry hazard moves. It's designed to take out walls though, so you shouldn't worry a whole lot. If you are worried about your team not being able to take damage well, then Cloyster is the perfect choice for a wall. I mean, have you seen that defense? AKA the highest of any water type, the second highest of ice types, and one of the highest period? Its HP is kind of lacking, but Cloyster can take physical hits like no problem. Just watch out for his special attack. His attack is also decent, so it can hurt the foe a little bit. While Water Ice isn't even close to the best defensive typing, only resisting its own 2 types, it doesn't detract from Cloyster's greatness. All of Cloyster's abilities work amazingly. Skill Link is the offensive one, as it extends multi-hit moves to their maximum length every time. Shell Armor, on the other hand, is more defensive, protecting against critical hits. And there's also Overcoat, but I'll talk more about that sooner or later. What, does Cloyster not look good enough? Well, take a gander at its moveset. Cloyster has so many moves to work with, you can use it in multiple ways. If you're looking to use it defensively, it's got Toxic Spikes, Protect, Spikes, Aqua Ring, and Barrier. Not too shabby if I say so myself, but it has so many strong attacks that it can work even better offensively. It's a proud member of the Super Shell Smash Bros, which lowers the user's defenses while sharply raising its attacking stats plus speed. You can teach this thing Icicle Crash, Poison Jab, Smart Strike, Liquidation, Hydro Pump, but easily the best choices are Icicle Spear and Explosion. Icicle Spear skill link is borderline broken, and Explosion is Explosion. Cloyster has so much variety that it's not only useful, but really fun to use honestly. Weavile both looks cool and is cool, literally and figuratively. Weavile is actually the fastest Ice type in the entire series. Combine that with very good attack and you've got the sweeper of the group. But being a sweeper has its own drawbacks, since its defenses are so low that just one super effective attack is all but guaranteed to knock it out, maybe two. It doesn't help that Dark Ice has so many weaknesses. It makes up for these shortcomings with a pretty respectful set of attacks to work with. There's Night Slash, Pursuit, Throat Chop, and Knockoff for Dark, and Ice Punch, Ice Shard, and Icicle Crash for Ice. His coverage is slightly limited, but Brick Break, Poison Jab, and X-Scissor are all decent. Also, while it may be a little risky, you could teach a Sword Stance above that already great attack to something I definitely wouldn't mess with. On the opposite end of the spectrum is Cryogonal. Cryogonal is a bit forgettable, but calling it worthless is a crime. And don't you forget it. Aside from Regice, it has the best special defense of all ice types. Cryogonal isn't taking a physical attack any day of the week, but it's decently fast and has alright special attack as well. And while Pure Ice is bad, its ability is Levitate, so it has something going for it compared to others. Cryogonal is also home to one of the strangest movesets. That being said, you can still throw some good moves onto it. Most of the best moves for Cryogonal are defensive or supportive, such as Light Screen and Reflect, Toxic, Aurora Veil, and amazingly Recover. I don't think it makes sense why it's one of the few Pokemon to learn Acrobatics, but I'm not complaining about Recover, the best HP restoring move. Plus, you can still teach it Ice Beam, Freeze Dry, and Flash Cannon for special attacks. It's not as good of a special wall as Alola Ninetales or anything, but it's still got its advantages. And to wrap up the team is Abomasnow. Abomasnow on its own is an abomination. When you throw a Mega Evolution onto it, well, it makes me regret saying that. Mega Abomasnow definitely isn't the best Mega Evolution by any means, but it's still good enough for the team. Unlike the rest of these Pokemon which have one purpose, Abomasnow is a jack of all trades. Both of its attacking stats are 132 and its defenses are decent as well. Abomasnow does have a staggering amount of weaknesses and it's kind of slow, but it should still be able to take one hit or two and return off a ton of damage. Once Abomasnow Mega Evolves, its ability changes to Snow Warning. This isn't the most practical thing for the party since Ninetales already has it, but it can still be an alright backup. And when it comes to moves, Abomasnow has an insane variety. If you want to use Abomasnow as a physical attacker, you can teach it Wood Hammer, Ice Shard, Seed Bomb, Ice Punch, or Earthquake. But if you'd prefer a special moveset, there's Blizzard, Focus Blast, Giga Drain, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, and Ice Beam. If you really want to, you could have a mix between both. While Abomasnow is arguably the least pivotal to your team, it's a satisfactory last resort option if you really need it. As you can see, while the team is primarily a bad type, they have quite a bit of synergy. You've got the Hailstorm starter, a pure wall breaker, a glass cannon, a physical tank, a special wall, and what's fundamentally a red mage. However, there are a couple other Pokemon I want to mention that could also work well. Frostlass isn't exactly great or anything, but it still has some benefits. Ghost has always been a great supportive type with immunities to normal and fighting plus a lot of assistive moves to work with. Taunt, Spikes, Destiny Bond, Trick, and Will-O-Wisp are a couple good examples. You can also teach it Ice Beam and Shadow Ball for attacks. While its defenses are bad and its ability is a bit situational, Frostlass has its own uses that make it a worthy consideration. And then there's Mega Glalie. If you aren't using Abomasnow, then Glalie could be a good choice for your Mega Evolution. It can't take hits nearly as well, but it's somewhat quick and has great attacking stats. Combine that with the Refrigerate ability, which changes all normal type moves to stab and increases the power of them by 20%, and you've got a mixed sweeper. Ice Shard, Earthquake, Double Edge, and Explosion are the only moves it really needs. It may hurt a little that you'd have a less bulky Pokemon, but seeing how Abomasnow already had a ton of weaknesses plus was really slow, Glalie can still be a viable alternative. Before I forget, there's also the Overcoat ability. There are quite a few Pokemon that aren't Ice type that have this, and since they're immune to Hailstorm, they could fit into the team. Sure, you can't use them on a strictly mono-type Ice team, but otherwise they're viable. You've got Fortress, Leavanny, Reuniclus, Escavalier, Mandibuzz, Hakamomo, and Wormadam.
Don't mention that Wormadam name, Nintendo.
Okay, I'm sorry, jeez. Well, aside from that last Pokemon, you can choose from any of them. There you have it. That's why I don't think Hailstorm teams are unusable. I'm not saying that you must build them. Sun, Rain, and Sandstorm teams are still way more useful. I just think fans over-exaggerate how bad Hail teams really are. Not like it matters at all, because this isn't Gen 5 of the Weather Wars. But as always, until next time, this is Blue Ninten, attempting to prove everyone wrong. Even though they weren't exactly wrong to begin with.
By the way, this was totally my idea. Nintendo stole it. You shouldn't even trust him.
Psh,
He's not actually
kids these days.
He's
But
my hasty
EJ's
brother
right, I
who's been missing
did get
for
the idea
3
from him.
years.